Okay, welcome back, everybody. And for those of you who are on Facebook Live, you're probably saying, I don't want to see Peter. I want to see the guests. Well, there's a good reason for this. Our guests, we have Dave, Elizabeth, and Davidson all here in the studio with us. Now, Dave does some sensitive work for the military, and so we just want to make sure that we protect your identity because it's good, it's safe for your family. So that's why we're doing that, in case you're wondering. All right, so first, if you don't mind, Dave, if you wouldn't mind grabbing that microphone right there. There you go. And just get a little bit closer. Just pull it over. There you go. It moves. All right. So first of all, now you are in the military, and tell me a little bit about how this whole process got started. Of young Davidson, your boy, your oldest, right? He's your oldest.
That's right.
And how long ago did he write this book?
So Davidson started writing this book when he was 6 years old, about 3 years ago, and he finished it. He started in kindergarten, finished in first grade. And it's about a story, an experience that happened with our family. I'm active duty, and in 2013, I was wounded in Afghanistan by an RPG, which is a rocket-propelled grenade.
Very seriously, I understand.
Yes, yeah. It was by the grace of God. It was a miracle that I recovered in the way I did. That happened December 20th, so that was right before Christmas.
Oh my goodness.
And I ended up at Walter Reed Christmas Eve, and Davidson and his brother Alexander and Elizabeth flew in, and he saw me Christmas Day. So
in your hospital bed.
That's right,
Okay.
at Walter Reed.
Right.
Davidson started writing about this. Writing is something for me as well that has been
It's cathartic, right?
Absolutely. So it's definitely allowed me to kind of sort some things out in experiences I've had in the military, and I believe that is the same for Davidson as well. He started writing the story, and as I was reading it, I was like, this is a pretty good little story, and so I started drawing pictures because I've always liked to draw my whole life. I started drawing his story as he wrote it, and as he continued to write it over that year, and I kind of just drew alongside him. We realized, hey, this is a pretty good little book, and we decided, we'll make it into a little family book, which we started to do, and then somebody took a look at it and they're like, you should get this published. So that essentially is what brought us to here. And the reception of the book has been overwhelming. Mm-hmm. We've been really blessed by it. And, I don't want to steal Elizabeth's thunder because she's really been the one that's been doing everything. I was deployed while
Right.
the book was published, and she did a bunch of interviews and sold our house and raised 4 kids.
Amazing.
All while I'm out of the picture. But so that's kind of the background of the story.
But in case you're wondering, folks, if you can see this is the book. It's called Brave for My Family, and there's the cover. You can see it. And now I want to turn to Davidson here. Davidson, lean right up into that microphone, young man. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about Davidson.
Well, I'm 9 years old, and I like to play with Legos. I like playing outside, and I like building snow forts in the backyard up in Polson. Mm-hmm. And I also really like playing with my brother and sister, and
well, you're the big brother, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to look after them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I sometimes I even make things out of wood with my grandpa, and one time I made my own little wood army, and yeah.
Very cool, very cool. So what grade are you in?
I'm in 3rd grade.
You're in 3rd grade. So okay. So now when this whole deal began, and your dad was deployed, and you were kind of the man of the house, right? I'm sure your dad said, "Hey, Davidson, you're it. You're the guy," right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did that make you feel when your dad told you that?
Well, I think I felt like
Was it hard?
well, I was little, so I didn't really know. I didn't really know what that meant.
Uh-huh.
But I thought it was just like you just looked after your siblings and you helped your mom and that's what you did.
So what kind of things did you do to help your mom?
Well, I sometimes watched Lily, James, and Alexander, which are my brother and sister.
You walked them around like in the carriage and stuff, and you walked them around? Well, no, I mean, but were they into like they're babies, right? They were younger.
Well, my brother was kind of like a toddler.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
Lily wasn't born yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So where I'm not going to ask you where to go to school, but what do you enjoy most about school?
Well, I'm homeschooled. I like
Oh, cool.
when we learn about ancient history and
Like me.
yeah.
That's okay to laugh. I make fun of myself all the time. I'm really, really old, okay? But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. By the way, our phone lines are open. If you would like to talk with these wonderful folks, they have headphones here to talk with you. The phone lines are open, 721-1290. This is a fantastic and very powerful story about how a family, got closer together through tragedy, through being wounded in battle, and how God and family and friends kept this whole thing together. So we're gonna come right back, and we have all four of our phone lines open at 721-1290. We'll be back in a moment. Hey, we are back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. We have Dave, Elizabeth, and Davidson, and what's the baby's name? Hadassah. Very cool. I love that. All right. Very good. All right. So, where were we before I rudely interrupted myself?
We just started.
Right.
I think you want Davidson to maybe read it.
Yes. Davidson, if you wouldn't mind, just to take maybe the first 5 pages and describe. Now, your dad is primarily the artist in this book, right? He drew all the pictures. So if you wouldn't mind, because this is radio, right? If you wouldn't mind describing the picture and tell us what the caption says underneath it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's do the first. Go ahead. No, yeah, just tell me what the picture looks like.
Well, the picture looks like an army guy with a large antenna on his
Right.
backpack, and then army boots and camouflage that it will blend in with the surroundings, which look like they're green,
Okay.
brown, and gray.
Okay, so what are the words on the next page? What do they say?
A Green Beret trains in America by shooting guns, jumping out of airplanes, and learning to speak different languages. They are tough, strong, and brave. They're
tough. Okay, so you give me another couple of pages here,
Okay.
and just describe the photograph first or the picture.
Okay. So, this photo is when me and my dad are walking on a sidewalk. I think it's in Boston, right? And
Cool.
he's wearing a beret, which is a type of hat that Green Berets would wear. And then he has just an army suit, and then with the American flag on his right arm.
Okay, what do the words say next to it then?
Dad went to Afghanistan. I felt sad. He had to go to Afghanistan because it was his turn to fight terrorists. My mom was sad too.
Okay. So what? I'm just going to have him keep reading. If you're doing a great job. Just describe the photo and what the words say on the next page, hey, Davidson.
Well, it shows that my dad is in Afghanistan near all these broken buildings, and he's praying that we're okay, and then he has his badges, and then his gun, and his walkie-talkie, and his glasses, and his army suit. And then I'm on my bed praying with my Thomas the Train toy, and I'm praying for him.
Very cool.
And then I hugged my dad goodbye. Then we prayed. I did not know if he was going to come back. I prayed every night that he would come back.
Keep going, kid. You're doing great.
And then this picture is, well, we went to Dunkin' Donuts, and with my granddaddy and grandmama in Boston, which is in Massachusetts, and it shows that he was reading his Bible, and he got me a donut, which was green and brown sprinkles, and he drank his coffee. Even though I was still sad, I had fun because I got to visit Granddaddy and Grandmama in Boston. My granddaddy got me a donut. It was a chocolate donut with green and brown sprinkles, just like the army. I rode my bike too. It was a Mickey Mouse bike. I like to eat my donut with Granddaddy when he read the Bible and drank his coffee.
Okay,
Speaking of your granddaddy,
Yeah.
I think he might be on the phone.
ooh, let's do that. All right.
Put those headphones on. So you can
Put the headphones on. There you go.
He's
And
calling all the way from Boston.
oh my goodness gracious! Well, let's see if we can get this going here. Good morning. Is this Ron?
This is Ron.
Hi, Ron.
How are you?
How are you doing,
Hey.
sir?
I'm doing excellent today.
So
It's so good to hear.
I'm going to step away and let you talk with your family here. Go right ahead.
Oh, that's great. Well, hello, Davidson and Dave and Elizabeth and whoever else.
Hey, how you
Hi,
doing?
Granddaddy.
I'm doing well. So good to listen in. My little Bible study class here, or actually I put it on Facebook, so we're all kind of listening and looking in. I just wanted to say hello to Davidson. So proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So what input did you have in this book, Ron?
Well, I would have coffee, my Dunkin' Donuts,
We just heard.
and green and brown sprinkled donuts.
Okay.
I think at the time, Elizabeth and the Alexander and Davidson were with us when Dave was wounded, and they flew down to Walter Reed to be with him that Christmas. So we're just thankful that everything has turned out the way it has.
Now, if you wouldn't mind, Ron, this is Peter, by the way, and that's Nick over there.
Okay.
And to all of our listeners, if you wouldn't mind just kind of looking back a little bit on what that experience was like, going to Walter Reed, understanding that Dave was badly wounded, and what was going through your mind during that time.
Well, when Elizabeth found out, she was actually with us up here in Boston, and it was a very, very difficult and trying time. Obviously, not knowing the extent of Dave's wounds and what had taken place, but I saw some strength and some hope arise within Elizabeth that was not. I just know that it was God upholding her and strengthening her, and it was in a way very good to see that in her. It was devastating at the time, but what strength that I've been able to see through their lives, and I see it carried on even in their children today, especially like with Davidson writing such a book that will help other families as well.
That's great. So, Ron, anything else you want to say to your family before we let you go?
I just want to say that we've got snow up here in the Boston area, and probably not as much as yet.
Oh, no, you have
out
far
there in
more than we do,
Montana.
trust me. But Boston gets a lot more snow than Missoula does, trust me.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, but send some pictures. We'll miss you for Christmas, but love you guys so much. So proud of all of you.
Love you,
And,
Daddy.
Bye.
God bless you. Love you
Love you,
guys. Bye,
Granddaddy.
David.
Love you.
Thanks.
Keep riding that bike.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Ron.
Bye-bye.
We're just going to go home now, okay? How could you possibly top that? We're all just
I know.
we're going to take a break here. Peter's going to go out and cry somewhere. So we're going to come right back with more Talk Back in a moment. Stay with us. And we're back on Talk Back. 721-1290 is our number. I'm Peter Christian. That's Nick Christensen over there. It's a wonderful family, Davidson, Elizabeth, and Dave, and little Hadassah?
Hadassah.
Hadassah.
Yeah.
Okay, Hadassah are here in the studio. And somebody asked if you wouldn't mind explaining what the...
Our caller, actually.
Oh, it is? Okay. Well, let's get Denise on the line. Good morning, Denise. You are on Talk Back with our friends Davidson, Elizabeth, and Dave, and Hadassah. Go ahead.
Good morning. I wish to ask first a question of Elizabeth and then one for the whole family. So my first question to Elizabeth is Hadassah taken from the book of Esther? Then my second question is for the family as a whole, having had to dig deep and survive, if you will, what would you tell your country? What would you suggest to your country as a whole? You're such a shining example of family and carrying on that I would like to hear words of wisdom to give us all hope. And thank you so much. I'll hang up and
All
listen.
right. Thank you, Denise. Appreciate the call. So Hadassah is from the book of Esther, right?
Yes, so
Yeah.
it was Esther's Hebrew name.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And Dave could probably chime in more.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so we chose Hadassah because it is Esther, the book of Esther in the Bible. It's Esther's Hebrew name.
I tell you, Esther, if you're not familiar with the Bible, you should just go read the book of Esther. It'll knock your hair back, man. It's amazing.
It is, and one of the verses in Esther, so when Esther was going before the king to ask him to rescue his people from Haman, who was seeking to destroy all her people, she was risking her life because to go before the king, if he did not grant her permission to come into his presence, she could be executed. And Mordecai, her uncle, who raised her, had told her, maybe you were put in this position for such a time as this. And for us, and this story, that I think is a unique Bible verse and a unique concept, because the story itself, you had asked, how does it affect other families? And I think that the story itself, written by a young kid, really provides a lens into what military families go through, and not just military families, because kids in general can go through some tough things, and there is hope, and there is strength that is available to families. It started out just him writing, and then as he continued to write, he asked us to kind of jog his memory. And the way that we did that is we had pictures from when we're in Washington, D.C., at Bethesda, Maryland, at Walter Reed. And so we'd show him pictures, and he'd remember those pictures, and everybody looks at the picture, and they see it in their own memories from their own experience and perspective. And so I look at a picture, and I remember certain things. Davidson looks at a picture, and he remembers other things, and that's kind of what drove the thought behind the book.
You bring up something really, really interesting. I don't mean to get all spiritual here, but my last name is Christian. That's not my real last name. I chose that name. Okay. Does it make you feel somehow, in this particular instance, with what you've gone through, your family's gone through, and what Davidson has done, that maybe he was put on this earth to do exactly that?
Yeah, absolutely. This whole, I mean, when I got wounded, I came so close to dying that after that experience, it would be difficult for me to not think about, hey, what is the significance of my life and my family's life and people's life? And just over the years, ever since then, just taking the time to reflect, I am regularly blown away by the beauty and complexity of the universe and the significance that each person has. Because each person, even though some people may look at them and say, oh, they're insignificant, or they're just kind of a plain Jane person, they have unspeakable impact in the lives of others. And I've also learned, especially in my life, that people that say a kind word or do something selfless may never in this life see the benefits of what they did. They may never see the fruits of their labor, but it's there, and they don't realize the impact that they make in those little things. So that's definitely something.
I'll tag off of that when he said, those little things, because just this past deployment, and I've brought this up a few times with other interviews, but we all got strep, and I had to take everyone to the ER.
Wow.
And I don't have family close by, and I got home that morning because I left really early in the morning. I got home that morning, and 2 families in our homeschool community just came over and brought me dinner and snacks and food for the week.
You didn't ask him, right?
No,
right.
no, and it's like it's so small probably in their eyes, and just even just little encouraging texts I would get from people through deployments, and just even about this book. And people think it's small or insignificant, but for me and for our family, I was like, thank you, Jesus, because we were just so sick and with 4 kids, and it was just such a blessing.
And with that, we're going to take a break, because that's what we do around here. Every 10 minutes, we got to take a break. But Daniel is waiting very patiently on the phone to visit with you. We also have a Facebook question, and we're going to come right back. By the way, 3 lines open. If you want to say something, a word of encouragement or a question for Davidson, the book's author, Dave, the illustrator, and Elizabeth, the mom. Hadassah's not talking, so we're going to come right back in just a moment. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. I'm Peter Christian, by the way. That's Nick Christensen right over there. Joining us here in the studio are Davidson, Elizabeth, and Dave. And in case you're wondering why if you're on Facebook Live, why the camera is only looking at me, it's because I'm an egomaniac. Okay? It's all about Dave is Special Forces, and we are very careful about guarding his identity. So there you go. That's why we're doing it that way. Now let's get Daniel on the line. Daniel, first of all, you've been holding a long time. Thanks for your patience. I understand you have a question for Davidson.
Yes, I do, and I just want to say thank you to the family for just all the sacrifices that they give just so selflessly, being a part of a military family. But I actually have a question for Davidson. What is one of your favorite things that you love to do when your daddy's home?
I like playing with him, like building Legos with him, and sometimes if it's snowy, we would go outside and build snowmen or something like that. Then we would also, if it's the summer, we could play with like soccer or with the ball, and I like doing that with him.
So you do father and son stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, Daniel.
Great. No, thank you so much.
All
I
right.
just love to hear that, and thank you to the family so much for just this wonderful book and the sacrifices that you give each day.
You bet. And thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Now, but since your dad's a soldier, I'll bet he builds a heck of a snow fort, right? Yeah, I think so. Now, we also have a Facebook question, right, that Dave can answer.
Yeah, Jeff asked, he said, would like to know, given Dave's sacrifices, whether Dave and Elizabeth consider Dave's military service a privilege or a burden.
I ask because despite the sacrifices me and my family experienced during our own military career, I still consider it a privilege and just wanted to know if they feel the same.
Yeah, so the question of whether it is a privilege or a burden, I don't think is an or question. It's a privilege and a burden. A burden for the obvious reasons. You end up, going through a military career, and you come out of it, and you may not have, may not be where you're at, where you were at physically, and For me, the toughest things, I've lost some close friends, and obviously I've been wounded. But for me, the toughest things are the things that I sacrificed in terms of memories with family. Davidson's first words, first steps, first Christmas, first birthday were all given up in his first deployment, my first deployment when he was alive. And that's tough. And there are times, especially towards the end of my own deployments, I just finished up my 10th deployment where, I look back and I say, is it all worth it, right? I see my kids growing up in pictures. I remember conversations and memories with close friends of mine who, are gone. And I wonder, is it worth it? And there's times when you look, and this kind of goes to Denise's question, there's times when you look at our nation and you see some not so pretty things going on, and you look at that and you're like, what's going on? Is the sacrifice worth it? And for me, the answer really is embedded in my own personal hero, which is Jesus Christ, right? He sacrificed for us out of love. So if you were to ask him, is it a burden or a privilege? I think his answer is both, because he took on the burden of my own mistakes and sins, but he did it as a privilege because he loves me. And for me to be in a position where I can do the same, because I love America, and I love America for what it stands for, and I love the U.S. Constitution, and I love the freedom that I've enjoyed my life, and I love the fact that my kids will be free. And as long as I'm alive, the soil under my feet will be a free America, and I love that, right? And so for me, it is a privilege, and the burden of sacrifice does not come lightly, because there really are some sacrifices. So the answer is it's both.
Now, there's a phrase that people throw around. I don't think they understand really how powerful it could be, but it's there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. Because you have been in the most dangerous places and done the most dangerous things, and have suffered for it. So when you get into that area where you're just hunkered down and hoping that the daylight will come, what are you thinking about?
So my relationship with God is why I'm alive today. I can't speak for other people's relationship with God, because that's the whole point of our relationship with God. It's our relationship with God. It's
personal,
not
right?
That's right. It's not in comparison with others. It's not based off of a church personality or anything like that. It is my personal relationship with God. And when you're in circumstances where sometimes you're in dangerous situations that can really kind of test your mettle. But really, some of the hardest things that I've had to work through are things that I've done in almost 2 decades of war, that I look back and I say, did I need to do that? And just coming to terms with my own humanity and my own mistakes have overall brought me closer to God. Not because I'm a pious person who doesn't make mistakes, but because I am a incredibly flawed person who is just overwhelmed by the power of God's grace, which is driven by His inexplicable love for me. I don't know why he would love me. Especially there's times when I think who could. I don't know why Elizabeth loves me sometimes, but that relationship with God has really pulled me through some dark valleys. That I think some of those dark valleys are not exclusive to those who have experienced war, but they're very similar.
We're going to come right back. 721-1290 is a powerful, powerful words there. If you have a question or comment, all four of our phone lines are open. It's 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309. We'll be right back. 721-1290 is our number, and Santa Baby came by and dropped off these wonderful Santa socks. As you know, Susan Campbell-Renault, a.k.a. Santa Baby. She fills these all sorts of fun things, and those are for you to take home.
Thank you.
Along with some cards that they had school kids write these cards for veterans,
special.
like in nursing homes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And said, "Dear veterans, happy Halo Days." and Christmas. We love you all. Happy and the P's are backward. Happy New Year. That sounds like something I would write. But it's totally
familiar.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's so cool. All right, let's get Jack on the line. Jack, you've been waiting a long time. Thanks for holding. You're on with Dave, Elizabeth, and Davidson, and Hadassah. Hi, Hadassah. Go ahead.
Hello,
Jack. You're on. Go ahead.
Well, I am David's uncle, of course, his favorite uncle.
If you do say so yourself.
And the best looking one, of course.
Of course. And the best
I just wanted to reach out and tell you how proud that for myself and my family of the sacrifice that you've made, David, and your whole family, and my sister and brother-in-law, and how proud we are of Davidson, and what an inspiration that you've been to my family. And I just wanted to tell you I'm proud to be an American, and I'm more proud to be a Christian. And you've broken a lot of paths through dark times in my life, and I'm just so proud of you. And Merry Christmas.
Thanks a lot, Uncle Jack. That means so much to me. And one thing I will say to you, Uncle Jack, and this goes as a shout out to Grandpa too, is just like I was talking about before, is you don't always get to see the fruits of your labor, but there's moments with you, Uncle Jack, and with Grandpa that I remember out at Flathead Lake and barbecues in Missoula, and like there's little things that memories that I have that played into everything that I've done in my career, which is why Grandpa pinned my Ranger tab on me, and this military service and the sacrifice is it's a family effort, and that's not just immediate family, that's extended family, and it's when our nation goes to war because there's a lot of people supporting everybody who does what I do. And I appreciate everything, Uncle Jack. I'm looking forward to getting together, and thank you for your kind words.
So, Uncle Jack, where are you right now?
Well, I'm at work. I'm in my shop, and I'm sitting in the car listening to the interview because the radio in my shop somehow is stuck on a different station. But
well, we can fix that.
Yeah, right on. And Pete, I've known you for a long time. You are also a great inspiration in my life too.
Well, thank you.
And keep up the good work. And David, we are so proud of you, dude. You're just a cool dude, and I'm just proud to have you and your family in my life.
Thanks a lot, Uncle Jack. I love you.
Love you, Uncle Jack.
Bye.
Okay, we're all going to just get the hankies out here. So let me ask you this: during the Vietnam War, the draft, right? A vast majority of the young men who went and served and died or lived afterwards were draftees. But it's an all-volunteer army now, an all-volunteer armed services. What difference does that make to you? Because you chose to do this, and you chose to go into Special Forces and Green Beret and Ranger School and all that. So tell me the difference it makes to you that nobody said you have to do this.
Well, I will say, I've wanted to be a soldier ever since I was a little kid. Probably Uncle Jack can tell you this, that, when I was 3 years old, I wanted to be a Roman soldier and a cowboy. So it's always been something I've been inspired to do. And fortunately, my country and my capabilities have allowed me to do it. In terms of the draft and an all-volunteer military, I think that the all volunteer military that it's no small thing to give to your country. But in terms of the draft as well, I look back at the guys who were drafted and served, and that is significant as well. Because they had lives and they had things going on in their lives, and maybe they were intending to serve a little bit later, but they wanted to finish whatever up. But when they were told, "Hey, you're going," they went. There was guys that didn't agree, right, and they went. And the big thing is the duty to serve. Me as a Christian, I have a duty to serve, and I think Americans have a duty to serve, and that's not just the military; that's each other, right? That's Americans serving Americans. Stepping out of the way of our own personal, agendas or aspirations, ambitions, and looking out for our fellow men and women, and so I look at all service, whether it's military, whether it's police, law enforcement, especially, and health services. All my family, who are much smarter than me, are all in medical professions. And I look at all that. Anyone who serves, I respect them, because I know what it is to serve, and I know the value of it. That's the way I view it.
Got it. We're going to take a quick break. It's a 1 minute timeout. We'll come back and wrap things up with Davidson, Elizabeth Dave, and Hadassah. Sorry. We're going to come right back with more of Talk Back. I'll get it eventually. By the time she gets married, I'll know what it is. 721-1290 is our number. We're coming right back. Okay, we are back on Talk Back. 721-1290 is our number. Nick Christiansen right over there. I'm Peter Christian. Wonderful family here in the studio with us. This isn't even the whole family, right? We're missing one.
That's right. We're missing two.
Oh, missing two. Okay.
Yep.
Alexander and Lily James.
Yeah, Alexander and Lily James are with Grandpa.
Cool. Nice. Gotta love that. All right. So we have exactly 5 minutes left in the show. So if you want to get a call in to these wonderful folks, lines are open at 721-1290. But we want to get some nitty-gritty into how to get this book, because you can just go online, you can order it, you can go into any bookstore, right? Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's right. So it's on Amazon, and one thing I want to point out is our intent is to keep the price low, because it's about the story, not necessarily about profits. And in terms of the proceeds of the book, we split the proceeds between Davidson, because he authored the book, and myself, and because I illustrated it. And so all of my proceeds are going to the Green Beret Foundation, the Navy SEAL Foundation, the Rangers Lead the Way Fund, and the Semper Fi Fund, the Patriot Foundation, and the Rick Harima Foundation. So those are all foundations, all organizations that we know have been proven to help military families, especially those with wounded or fallen service members. And so that's the intent, is to give back. God gave us so much, and the intent of this book is to give back in some regards. And while I know we may be waiting on a phone call, but since we only
go
have,
ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, since we got a couple minutes, I have to say this. None of anything I've done for this country would be possible without my wife, Elizabeth. She is really, really incredible.
And by the way, you can't see it, but she's gorgeous, folks. I'm sorry. Pardon me for saying, don't beat me up, but she's...
Watch out for Davidson.
He's going to take a swing at me here in just a second. No, but she is an absolutely lovely lady. So.
And this last deployment, and like I said, I finished up my 10th deployment, and just this last deployment alone, I left when Hadassah was only a couple weeks old. She raised our four kids, homeschooled them, published a book, sold a house, and then put on Thanksgiving for the family. And
all with one hand, right? all while holding a baby with one hand, right?
Superwoman.
And the fact of the matter is, I couldn't do what I do without her, and that is really the story of military families. And so, one thing I would ask people who are looking to meaningfully thank a service member, it means something when somebody comes up and says thank you for your service. But man, it really hits home when somebody does something nice for my family, right? And it doesn't have to be, a trip to Disney World type of thing. It can just be a kind word. Yeah.
Phone call.
Just like the words of encouragement, meaningful words of encouragement from the heart really go a long way. And the sacrifices of families, like I was saying, Davidson, all those birthdays and Christmases and special moments where in his memories I was gone to places he doesn't even know where I was. That's a sacrifice. So the family sacrifice. And so when you thank a military family, I think it really means quite a bit to a service member.
Well, I know that there are a lot of service members whose families have fallen apart because of their service, and they haven't had the strength and the cohesion that you folks have and the blessings that you have of family and friends and community and that sort of thing. And so it's hard to imagine just how blessed and lucky you really are.
Absolutely. I mean,
I say it every day, though. I couldn't do this life. It is hard, and
it's okay.
I'm crying.
It's all right.
You can't see me, but I'm crying.
It's okay. It's all right.
But for all those military spouses, if you can hear my voice, thank you, for all your sacrifices and your, just to your family and to your husband or to your wives, supporting them. And I couldn't do it without Jesus, because it's not pretty every day at home. Homeschooling and just being the sole responsible one at home. And I give all glory to Jesus, because he helps me in those times, and other people, that call me or send me that encouraging text. Means so much.
We're out of time. Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry. We could Rush Limbaugh, take a hike. Anyway, but the book is called.
I like Rush.
But the book is called "Brave for My Family," and it was written by this young man right here, Davidson. And thanks to Dave, and thanks to you, Elizabeth,
Thank
and to
you.
Hadassah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
She's awake.
All right, and you guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 6 on Montana Morning. Bye bye.